Welcome to the Lunch and Learn overview number 24. This is the final theme for year one, Kit 1 Theme F Early Word Webs. It's been a pleasure doing these Lunch and Learns, even if we've sort of gone from having lots of people attending and it being very collaborative to simply me speaking into the computer by myself late at night. But either way, having these as an archived set of information for incoming teachers or for you to refer to with planning, I hope we can continue to make something that's useful for years to come. To begin, this is just a lot of fun, I think, especially being able to do this theme at the end of the year. This is one that you could really let kids loose on, do a lot of gradual release, where maybe the first week or so you do a lot of guided practice on building word webs, and by the second or third week, if you wanted to stretch it out this long, you could give kids an opportunity to make word webs on their own with words of their choice or to build on each other's webs. So the nice thing about having it positioned where we do in the year is that I think it's going to be the perfect way to end our year one work with real spelling. So the big ideas with this theme, first of all, are that building word webs reinforces understanding of the way spelling links words that belong together in word families. And of course, we want to talk about the term word families like we did at the beginning of the year, that they're not families by rhyme like we used to teach in phonics, but instead word families are families based on meaning. This theme will teach that families are those which share a base element in common but may have different affixes or elements in a compound word, that you must be on the lookout for letter strings that are accidentally the same, as in ending and in danger. This is a great topic, I think, especially for younger kids, because they start willy-nillying just identifying words as having relationships. We see that certainly with the suffixes and prefixes. They start to think that every set of letters that they see is a suffix or a prefix, instead of getting back to the basics of determining what the base is. So this will come up here and be another good way to reinforce that concept. Finally, this theme teaches how to construct a word web. Before you begin the actual construction, some things to get your head around as teachers. The basis of a word web is connections between morphemes. A web shows links of meaning and structure and is not concerned with the pronunciation of words. Word webs are based on two fundamental principles of orthography. Spelling primarily represents what words mean and how words are built. So this really speaks to that idea that these webs reinforce not pronunciation, and these families are families based on meaning and structure. Word webs are a representation of the permanent and semantic context of a word. So we have to know what it means, but we have to know what it means in relation to the other words for it to make sense on a web. Word webs are a powerful means of both representing and revealing the etymological dimension of spelling. Some interesting things here. You can see these two example webs. When you're putting words together on a word web, you really have to think about the meaning first, and some of the natural combinations come across because they have similarities in meanings, and it helps reinforce that idea that where words come from is as important to us when we think about how they're spelled as their structure and their meaning. The words heard, H-E-A-R-D, and H-E-R-D, though pronounced the same, will belong to separate and different word webs. And you can see here, I do have to say that I took these directly from the theme. I am not exactly sure why the bold H-E-A-R-D is on the left-hand side, but I think it's because it's not really from the base here, and it's for us to compare. It is from the base, but it's not that actual base. And I think it's bolded like this for us just to make the comparison. I don't think there would be a reason to bold it in the web by itself. If you have information about that, of course, please share with everybody. To create and build a word web, and we're going to get into this more throughout the theme, the first thing to do is to collect words which share a common base element. And of course, we've been working hard on this, having students isolate the base from the prefixes and suffixes, and recognizing that pronunciation has no criterion. You can see of the three words there, the first one, A-L-O-U-D, and A-L-L-O-W-E-D, aloud, L-O-U-D-L-Y. You can see the connection there, and the two words that I put the check mark would be the ones that would be in a word web together. This is another awesome opportunity for us to assess how our students are doing with some of these concepts, removing prefixes and suffixes from a base word, and linking words based on meaning. The second step is to isolate the base element that is the common factor in the group, which I talked about above, subdivide and sort the words and arrange them in a web around the source base element or morpheme. You can see how I did that here. Add words to the web by changing just one of the morphemes in the connected word. I could see this as being something that you would want to do in pencil. Students may put words in certain places that upon further investigation they might identify as needing to break out into a separate link. But the point of these word webs is to really use it as a tool, much like we do the matrices and the word sum. This is a tool for building our knowledge, so not being afraid of making mistakes or erasing is a key element in this work. Melvin provides a couple of reproducibles which you can use to get students again practicing with either linking words based on meaning, which would be the overhead on the right, or finding the base word. This is good practice for kids of all ages, and you might be able to devote more than one session to this if you find that your students need this work. So getting into the main theme, one way to introduce it, as Melvin states, is to say, words belong to families. The way we know that words belong to the same family is that they all have the same base word. One way we can bring them together in a family is to arrange them in a word web. We are going to learn how to make or build word webs. It helps our spelling to think of words in their families because words that are related to each other in meaning are also related to each other in their spelling. And that final sentence is, of course, the really, really important one. And as we're trying to help parents understand the rationale behind our work, that sentence is vital. And if you are doing word webs or send them home or show them at parent conferences, being able to articulate to parents the reason why word webs are not just fun but beneficial is important. So setting this up, I think one of the ways to do it in a gradual release is to have a class project where you're really in control of building the web and modeling how it would look. You could do this with a whole class and have it be teacher-led, or you could do it in small groups. But I think for the younger grades especially, some of the ways you make the web and how you set it up is going to take a little bit of practice. So doing it in front of them once, if not twice, might be smart. So to begin, you collect a few words which share the same common base word END, and this is the example that Melvin used that of course you could use as well. You subdivide and sort the words in this family and arrange them in a web around the base END, as you can see I did down there. You extend the web by adding words, by adding and removing prefixes or suffixes, or by finding compound words. Getting into a dictionary is helpful for kids to do this work. If they type in END, they can get all kinds of combinations. This is, of course, where they want to make sure, though, that the combination of letters is the base and not just a combination of letters. If you wanted to get more ambitious, and this is something that I think the older grades might be interested in doing, is you can circle the element in a compound word that is not the base you started with and then use it to create a spur, a second web that's still kind of connected. And you can see I did that with end game, and I pulled out the game part as the spur. This a lot of fun, like I said. You could do this on a big piece of chart paper. The other way that I've seen this done came from Beijing, and I have a model. I forgot to put a photo, but it also involved making the prefixes and suffixes different colors on the web just to help students identify where the base was and where the additions of the prefixes and suffixes were. For younger kids, again, in particular, that might be a nice scaffold for them. To use two different colors, or even to put, the one I created, I put the prefix and suffix on a completely different sheet of paper, different color paper, and then attached it. From there, giving students a go at this, giving them an opportunity to create their own webs. The example that Melvin provides that has a large web that has a lot of words that can kind of come off it is the word cover, C-O-V-E-R. And of course, you start with the word cover, you collect other words that have the base, start your word web, and then add and expand it. He mentions that it may take a day or two to create the web, but it's also important that webs are available to kids to add to over time, and I'll speak more about that in just a second. One of the things that you could do for webs is he has provided a collection of productive base words, bases that will give you a lot of words that students can create webs from. I've put that on the server, typed it into a list. You can also get words from student writing or words that they come across in their reading. They can take those words and create their own webs from them, just sort of as an investigation. It's a great way to build vocabulary because we always have to come back to meaning. You can also take them from matrices and create word webs, as shown here on this example. You could do, on my sticky notes, you could do webs for group work. You could have an entire group work on a web, and everybody contribute to it, creating like a poster that they then share with the class or a group. The other thing to do is to create what Melvin calls a passing web, and it's a web that you start and you post, and then as kids find other words, they add them up. Now, this could be done with multiple webs throughout this week. Maybe you put up several that are started, and as kids do their own investigations, everyone has an opportunity to add. The richness of this is just that it can be so generative. You can get lots and lots of work out of this that's really interesting and fun to do for kids.